It's been pouring for days in the lowland rainforest of Costa Rica's Osa Peninsula. Biologist Juan Carlos Cruz is here looking for rare animal species.
Normally at this time of the day they're very active. A lot of animals are active in the forest, but after a big rain they just stop, or during the rain they stop doing and moving.
Soon a poison dart frog flashes its bright warning stripes.
It's an endemic species. It means that it only lives not just in Costa Rica, but in Costa Rica it only lives here in the Osa Peninsula.
And another one with yellow markings. Nearby we find frogs' eggs. Monkeys like to eat them, so they're probably close by too. For Cruz and his co-workers, this is tangible evidence that investing in conservation pays off.
In order to protect land, sometimes we have to buy these areas.
Okay.
Also, doing research is very expensive. Having the highest technology for monitoring this animal is also very expensive. Having cameras, having radars, having all this different technology is quite expensive, so we unfortunately need the money to do conservation.
The downpour can turn babbling brooks into raging torrents and bring expeditions through the forest to a soggy halt. We decide to return to camp. Where Juan Carlos Cruz shows us photos from the week before. The scientists have set up cameras with motion detectors around the rainforest. They caught peccaries foraging and a jaguar. Now that the area is under protection, the big cats have regained a foothold. We fly to the capital, San Jose. Costa Rica has been planting trees for decades. About half the country is once again covered with rainforest. But the government has to keep searching for new sources of funding.
Total of the forest in the country.
Some government officials tell us how they hope to convince private investors to help finance their conservation programs. Companies and investors may not realize it, but they also have a vested interest in protecting the environment.
Well, today at the newspaper, there is an article about how national parks benefits the people around the national parks. So we see that conservation is also a part of the strategy for reduction of poverty. And now we are realizing that really conservation and development are just parts of the same equation. It's something that is very easy to say, it's very hard to do it really in national policies.
To get things moving in the right direction, Costa Rica signed on to the International Biofin Project. It brings finance experts, politicians and investors together to find ways to fund long-term environmental protection projects. We take a look at one of the showcase projects. Rancher Hugo Camacho receives a few €100 each year to plant new trees on a part of his pasture land. Costa Rica's Biofin coordinator Guillermo Zuniga regularly brings visitors by to see the results.
This isn't really my main line of business. I've got cattle and timber and a small pension from the government.
Without support from the project, he might have sold his trees off to a sawmill long ago. He tells us that recently a buyer offered him a lot of money for them. But he's not allowed to sell his timber. That's the agreement. Guillermo Zuniga knows that for a small farmer like Camacho, passing up an offer to sell his timber is a real sacrifice. He tells Camacho they're trying to get more funding. To protect areas like this, Costa Rica needs private investors. The government says it takes over €470 million a year to compensate the farmers. That's almost 1% of the country's GDP.
It is not such a big effort, and we have to keep in mind that I hope at least that much of that money will come out of market financial instrument where people will realize that it is important to invest in biodiversity.
But they want money back. I mean, this is an investment.
Yeah, that's it. It's an investment, yes.
Is it?
Of course.
For the local wildlife, the rare squirrel monkey, for example, the investment pays off. Their habitat on Costa Rica's Osa Peninsula has been preserved.